Chapter 6. When Mom ordered me to hit her with a shovel to scare a bee. I made a startling discovery when I was 8 years old. My mother was cuckoo. She was afraid of everything life offered her except Wonder Bread, ripe bananas, and chocolate candy. High on the 16-page, single-spaced list of things, living and dead, places, including her own house at night, and people, Phyllis Diller, really. That frightened Caroline were moths, bees, wasps, porcupines, and scorpions. Whenever I said, "Mom, I'm going outside to play," she would reply, "Watch out for scorpions. They have deadly stingers." I looked it up in the encyclopedia last month. There are no scorpions in Colorado. "I'm walking to the playground," I'd tell her. "Be careful of filthy moths and rabid porcupines." I'm sure I'll be fine. When I asked for an explanation for her many phobias, she would recall in vivid detail some calamitous event from her accident-prone childhood. "I'll never forget the hot day in July. My sister slipped and almost fell into the bear cage at the zoo and nearly got eaten alive. She was wearing a pretty red dress with white shoes and carried a pink coin purse. Once as a child, I saw a neighbor boy wearing blue overalls get sprayed by a skunk in the face, and he lost his eyesight for a week. He wasn't a very good speller, and he never brushed his teeth. My mother's irrational thoughts, superstitions, and emotional baggage couldn't fit on a large fleet of commercial airlines. She explained that her oft-stated fear of eating fish began after she witnessed her mother choke on a trout bone during dinner at a restaurant one night. My grandmother had received quick medical attention from an alert doctor eating at a nearby table. He forced out the offending piece using the Heimlich maneuver, but the dire episode left an indelible mark on my mother's fragile psyche. Her fear of water began when, as a child, one of her sisters had almost drowned. "Did I tell you about the time my sister fell face first into a mud puddle and couldn't breathe?" She lost an Emily Dickinson's poetry book from the library. When the ambulance arrived, they had to suck mud out of her air duct. Boy, did she get into trouble about the book she never found. After hearing my mother describe her unprecedented youth growing up in Denver, I concluded she survived every disaster known to humanity, including hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, the biblical plague of locusts, and the Ford Edsel. I forget which lucky aunt barely escaped death from the infamous sting incident, but it scarred my mom for life. "Be careful," she'd shout. "My sister almost died from multiple bee stings at the park near the lake." "Really? Cool. How many stings does it take to kill a human?" "I don't know, but that's not the point of my story." "Can we call your sister and find out?" "That's not necessary." "Do you think a swarm of bees could kill the mean neighbor who gives us apples for Halloween?" Don't get any ideas. We routinely witnessed our mother run like an inspired Olympic sprinter whenever an insect buzzed close by our house, and we became accustomed to it. If I was playing catch with a friend and my mom started running and shrieking through the yard, I knew a lethal bee or wasp had been spotted in our zip code. I think they enjoyed teasing my mother. During the summer, when she smoked outside, she would hold a running garden hose in her trigger-happy hand to spray any suspicious-looking insects that dared to venture near her restricted airspace. Nonetheless, I often watched her leap out of her green lawn chair and dash into the house, cussing loudly. As a result, I wasn't surprised to hear her frantic yell for help one afternoon as I played badminton against my sister Carrie. "Steve, help me!" What now? My pregnant mother was running in haphazard circles, slapping at her messy bouffant hairdo. "Go grab the shovel." "Excuse me? For what?" "Just get the shovel and hit me over the head." "For real? No way." That was the only time I heard that sentiment expressed during my childhood, and I wasn't exactly eager to obey her command. "Now, damn it!" I'd never seen my mom so panicked before. She was bawling, running, and smoking all at the same time. I was 8 years old. It was the first time I'd seen her cry because of her many fears, and it scared me. The easiest way to induce a young boy to tears is to force him to watch his mom weep hysterically. This was not a Hallmark mother and son moment. I've yet to read a greeting card that conveyed the conflicting emotions going through my mind that afternoon, though if there were one, the front of the big pink card with multiple red hearts would read, "Happy Mother's Day." The inside would proclaim, "You are such a wonderful mother. I'd hit you over the head with a blunt object to save your life." I looked toward the garage and spotted the dirty garden shovel leaning against the door. My brothers and I had used it earlier to dig up worms for our upcoming fishing trip. In a typical fashion, hadn't bothered to put it away. At that point, Carrie started screaming at me too. "Steve! Hurry before she gets stung!" Okay. Fervently wishing my father were home, I rushed over to the garage and picked up the heavy tool. I was just relieved we didn't own any bazookas or flamethrowers. I could imagine myself trying to explain that to the authorities and the coroner. "But officer, my mom ordered me to shoot a pesky bee near her head." I moved toward Mom and fought back tears. My vision blurred, and she begged me again to scare the murderous bee out of her hair by hitting it with the shovel. I still hadn't seen the insect, but her frantic actions convinced me it was stuck somewhere in her hair, sharpening its stinger with a tiny emery board. "Leave her alone, bee!" I took an offer to practice. With the light wooden bat in my hands, I was a decent hitter, but the shovel felt heavy, and during the cautionary swing, the spade dropped lower than I intended. It would have hit my mother square in the face, something the situation didn't call for. This feels wrong on so many levels. "Damn it, Stephen Ray! Hit my head with the damn thing!" The dreaded first and middle name address. I was either in big trouble or the situation was grave. "Just do what she says," Carrie pleaded. "Can't we call 911, a neighbor, or maybe a psychologist whose hobby is beekeeping?" I advanced 2 steps closer and noticed a few agitated bees buzzing above and around my mother's hair. "But Mom," I cried, "I might hurt you. Hurry up before I get stung to death." She was more afraid of getting stung by a bee than of getting her skull fractured by a hefty steel blade. I'm going to prison for killing my mother. I was out of choices. In my confused state, I decided to obey my frightened and disturbed mother. "Ready? Yes! Please, God, make the bees go away." I swung the shovel at Mom's head and yelled at her to duck. She crouched as the blade approached, and I barely missed her scalp. She ran into the house screaming and slammed the screen door shut while I threw the shovel to the ground. I deserve an ice cream cone. Somehow, between Mom's manic lashings at her hair and my lukewarm attempt to kill the dastardly predators, we succeeded. I rushed after her to make sure she was still alive, and because after this traumatic ordeal, I needed a hug. But the embrace would have to wait. I was ordered to comb through her mangled locks in search of any buzzing noises. "Do I need to shave my head to make sure they're all gone?" she worriedly asked. "I can wear a wig." We were both relieved to find that her hair was beeless. Amen. She complimented me on my bravery, kissed my sweaty forehead, and ran her fingers through my short blonde hair. Then she lit a cigarette and dialed the rotary phone to inform my grandmother of how she had just cheated death again. I wiped the tears from my face and took a deep breath before walking back outside into the sunlight. Another crisis involving my mother had played out. I returned the shovel to the garage and asked Carrie if she wanted to continue our badminton game.